So here we are back again, Erick Godsey. Last time we did the game of life.
We did.
People dug it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot.
That was cool.
Actually.
And this time I came up with an idea of 5 things to achieve before you die.
Yeah. And really, because every day we try to live like we're ready to die.
Hoka-hey, today is a good day to die. That's the goal, right?
Yes.
So this was kind of my attempt at saying like, all right, what do we got to get out of this thing? What do we got to get out of this experience before we fucking call this meat suit quits and go back to
game over,
back to the, back to the source.
Yeah.
And so I tried to like come up with some thoughts. So let's,
and it turned out to be fire.
Thanks, brother. Yeah. And let's go over it. Let's test it. Let's poke at it. Let's see what we think. And when I was really thinking about this, the number one thing that I could come up with was to experience who you truly are. I mean, that's like, it might just be like a one achievement list.
Yeah.
Because like that actually then facilitates pretty much everything else. But the first place I want to go with this is talking about like who you used to think you were and how the evolution of you personally, how that has changed. Your idea of yourself has changed.
Huge question, and that's a great place to start. I think, and I was actually just explaining this to someone the other night because she was asking me why I do psychedelics and why I think it's a critical part of why I am who I am. And the way that I explained it was before psychedelics, and there are other ways to get here, but it's that most people think that the totality of what they are is their conscious mind, their ego. And what psychedelics show you is no, dummy. The ego is the movie screen, but there's a projector in the back of the theater and there's light coming through it. And that light won't die if you eat 5 grams of mushrooms, but that movie will flicker and go off for a little while. And so I used to think I was the movie. And now I recognize I'm the light and the movie and the person watching the movie, judging the movie, making a story about what the movie is.
It's, this is the classic, deepest metaphysical understanding of being the observer.
Yeah.
Being not only recognizing that you're the thinker of the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves.
And the witnesser of the thinker of the
witness,
thoughts.
Exactly. The witnesser of all the things. And that allows you to actually claim a certain amount of freedom because then you can actually experience who you are, which is life itself expressed somatically. And that's how Don Miguel Ruiz describes what we are. We're life and love expressed through ourselves. Like we are life.
Yeah.
And that is it. It's not our body. It's not our everything else. Like we're life.
Yeah. There's a metaphor that Jung uses that like all the human psyche is a tree and all the individual humans are fruits of the tree. And there's this energy that comes through the tree that makes the fruit, but the fruit can fall off of the tree. And the tree can die, but there's a thing in the roots that's eternal, that's constantly trying to make new trees and new fruit. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of us think we're just the fruit. And really a lot of us think that we're like one seed of the fruit. And that's the seed that can get hurt and that, has a story about this is how I had to be to get my mom's love. This is how I had to be to get my dad's respect. And a lot of people will hold on to that and will live a life for 40 years inside of a story where they're trying to earn love from mom and trying to earn respect from dad. And they don't really ever connect to who they were.
That's not me, bro. I've only been alive 37. So, you're wrong. I haven't done it for 40 years. Only 37 years of trying to get external validation, because I've only been alive for that fucking long.
All of us, man.
I think it was an interesting point for me, like experiencing who I was. And again, psychedelics played a huge role of that. Obviously, the first one I've talked about at that watershed kind of rite of passage moment where I did my first psilocybin, where my body evaporated and I recognized myself as a force of consciousness.
And how old were you when you got to do that?
Like 18 or 19. I guess, right after I graduated high school.
And I was just reading about initiation rituals for young men in most cultures. And like yours is a classical initiation ritual where you're taken away from the family, isolated, sent off into the woods, right? Because that's what it was. And then you're given medicine that basically because what they do in other cultures is they tell the boys a secret or a story that they're not allowed to know until they get to that point.
Don't tell anybody you touched my penis.
They do that in some.
I know they do that in some horrible fucking cultures. Yeah.
But that it creates a significant wound, actually, is the way that it's explained in the book that I was reading. And the wound, you coping with the wound is what makes the boy the man. You know, and you went through a thing that it was an ego death at 18, you know, and it would be awesome if we had a culture where people could actually get that.
Well, that's what Aldous Huxley talks about in his book Island, where they climb a mountain, which is the physical challenge of climbing the mountain as the rite of passage. And then they arrive at the sacred cave where the elders of the tribe of Pala, you know, are gathered, and they give a ritualistic dose of moksha, which is, you know, Aldous Huxley's imagination of what the ideal medicine would be, which is kind of like a mescaline.
It's Wachuma for sure.
Yeah, it's probably Wachuma. It's very Wachuma. But that was like an integrated part of the culture. And I'm very fortunate. I wouldn't be who I was if it wasn't for my own rite of passage, which gave me that first, like, you know, experience of, oh, wow, I'm more than my body. I'm more than the basketball player and the stats of that basketball player and all that. And like, I could feel it somatically. And there was no going back at that point, because it's an undeniable knowing. Because if you haven't actually felt it or touched it, all of this is just theoretical and it may sound cool. But then when you know it, like have the gnosis, as the Greek word would be, like where it's just actually intercourse with that understanding, then that actually changes things.
Yeah.
And then the next time, all right, so that was psychedelic experience 1 that really like cracked open everything.
1 of 473.
And then the next part, which was really interesting, was on Iboga, the first time I did Iboga as a spiritual journey. And it showed me that I had 3 dominant parts of myself. And the 3 dominant parts of myself, number 1 was mud body. And that was purely the animal itself.
Yeah.
Like imagine the animal without the self-awareness that human beings have, but like animals, you know, where you're just an animal body expressed, driven by your urges and driven by your instincts, and, you know, kind of not really in your head that much. You know, it's just like an animal. And my animal wants things. Yeah. It has cravings. It has lusts. It likes foods. It likes these things. It wants to heal, wants to procreate, wants to do the mud body. It has its own innate sense of desires.
Absolutely.
And then there was Mind Boy, which is what I called it, which was all my ego and identity and all the, and then there was my consciousness, you know, and I could really see Mind Boy was like this little kid, like sugar feeding on, like eating Twizzlers and Starburst and trying to boss around the organism, but really like my consciousness, which is the eternal traveler, the one that transcends this life and has lived in other lives before. Obviously, I can't prove that, but that's what it felt like. It felt like the eternal traveler.
Yeah.
That was the real driver. And he's just kind of like, okay, whatever, mind. You want to drive for a little while? You like where you're going? Are you enjoying this? Because I'm ready to take over whenever. Yeah. And there was just these parts, and that's what Paul Selig would call your higher self, or being in the higher room, is just, you know, shifting the identification to that higher perspective, the witness.
And that actually brings up a really interesting phenomenological point, is that thing seems to be so okay, like the higher self seems to be so okay, that it will let Mind Boy and Mud Body run the motherfucking show if they want to. And it'll just be like, okay, that's fine. And there's this weird thing that I've been seeing since I've started working here in both my life and people around me. And it's like, if Mind Boy finally gets to a point where he's willing to claim, I want to be X in this life, it's like the higher self is like, finally, okay. And then it starts to organize trials and challenges and tribulations for Mud Body and Mind Boy to go through to become what they claim that they want to be.
Yeah.
And that's one of the scariest ideas that I've come across the last year. It's like, it's the ancient myth of beware what you wish for.
Absolutely. You know, like I whisper into the heavens, you know, like, lead me to my highest consciousness. I want to be free and I want to be fit for service. And the heavens are like, you sure? And I'm like,
exactly.
And I'm like, yep. It's like, you don't even know, but here we go.
Yeah.
And then it's just, you know, grueling internal emotional trial, sometimes physical, like getting my face split and whatever, but mostly internal emotional trials that help actually facilitate that. And only in hindsight do you recognize like, oh, thanks for that. Oh, okay. I'm grateful for that. And even the people who I call into my life, you know, and then like my partner, Whitney, you know, like nobody truly, and I'm at this point of deep appreciation because nobody truly could both inspire that much love and kick my ass that hard.
Right.
I really believe that there's nobody who could do both other than her.
Yeah.
And I called that relationship in, like someone who can inspire me to like burst into tears of love and also spiral me into the most deranged mind boy mania, you know, as well at the same time. Yeah. And that's a fucking incredible blessing to like, but yeah, is it easy all the time? Fuck no. You know, but I know then that like, is it fair? Yeah, because you know why? Because I asked for that.
100%.
I'm asking to become the best. And it's happening painfully, but then ecstatically sometimes as you burst through and make those breakthroughs in it, you're like, oh, it's working.
Yeah.
It's all working.
Yeah. It's like the higher self made all of the dragons and put the dragons all across the video game. And it's like, you said you wanted this treasure. Okay. Dragon. And, you know, it's, some people would rather not ask to be anything and then live in their depression, you know? But it's like, it's the flip side of having a life full of meaning is that you are going to be torn open over and over and over and over.
And also knowing that sometimes the depression is the path.
You
know, like you can't say anything is the diversion from the path. It's all the path. There's just different ways to learn.
Yeah.
You know,
I do think that there is a type of person though that's trying to not to play the game.
Sure.
You know, and they're almost like
opting out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that can be distraction, perpetual action, addiction.
Yeah.
You know, depression, which is a surrender to hopelessness and like a surrender of your own power, which is what I feel like when I'm depressed. It's like, it's like, I can't even do anything. I don't want to do anything. It's just giving away all my sovereignty, all my hope, all my faith, all my trust, everything, all my power and just surrendering it. And then that takes me off the board for a while. And that usually comes from, you know, comes from a variety of sources, but a lot of times it comes from my own judge.
For sure.
That's like saying that I'm not worthy or I'm not capable or I'm not.
And the judge would be a part of Mind Boy, right? Like it's totally. One of the programmers of Mind Boy. Like mom and dad were the first programmers of Mind Boy.
Yeah. And the school kids and the society at large. But then, all right, let's talk about, all right, if we're talking about, all right, before we die, I want to achieve the truth of who we are. Like, we got to talk about what these moments feel like, you know, because otherwise this doesn't make sense. Well, why go through all this hardship is what we're talking about. We're talking about a lot of hardship. Yeah. Like, what's the payoff? Well, what's the payoff for you? Like when you experience the truth of who you are, what does it fucking feel like?
Man. So truly it feels ineffable, but that would make for a very boring podcast. So if I had to try to effable it, it would be that
don't F it up.
Don't F it up. I won't, because it'll be in truth. Okay. So those moments, and when you feel it, you have a knowing that all of the tribulation is worth this moment. And the feeling is something along the lines of, everything in my conscious field, which amounts to the world, is in love. Everything is okay. I am capable of helping everyone that I know and myself. And there is a thing behind the universe that is loving and here. And it's all worth it.
Yeah. You know, for me, it's these moments where I've carried a heaviness of my expectations for myself. And, you know, I know that I've known I was blessed from the fucking drop. You know, I had wise parents. I had financial resources in my family. I had, you know, this body that was capable of learning sports well and adapting to writing and communication. And I know the gifts I've had. And with that, I've come with a huge high expectation of like what I needed to accomplish to actually
be worthy
of the blessings that I've had.
I feel that too.
And also this kind of idea of how hard it was to actually get there and all the manipulations of people's thoughts about me that I've done through kindness and in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
And I've carried that. And for me, when I experience the truth of who I am, it's a place of not needing anything else anymore. It's a place of radical like abundance,
wholeness
and balance, and where that kind of nagging ache on my heart, like, is everybody happy? Does everybody love me? Like that's dissolved.
Yeah.
And that heart is like bursting open. And oftentimes for me, when I reach it, I get tears in my eyes because I think there's been the separation. As you collapse the gap of separation, you pour through the delusion comes. It's almost like you're taking a foggy sky and you're condensing it to the rain, which falls out of your eyes and then cleanses you. And then you're open to actually feeling it. And it can be in love with a person, like with Whitney or with Savannah or with, one of my friends, or it can be just in nature, or it can be by myself, or it can be, and sometimes it feels like that. And sometimes it's absolute hilarity and playfulness.
Yeah.
Where I'm just laughing and everything is so funny. And, it reminds me like Muji, the laughing Buddha, where like even the problems seem so funny.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I know that when I'm really there, hilarity is going to be riding with me all the time. And my heart being open is going to ride with me all the time. And it probably won't be quite so many tears because I won't have to collapse that density of clouds.
Hopefully, yeah.
But still I'll be so available and
Yeah.
open to all the feelings and this just deep harmony and peace.
And there's this sense when I'm in it that there's this sense that this thing that I'm experiencing is always like so close to my daily living, but I'm not connected to it.
Yeah.
Like it's right there in the room with me, but I'm not connected to it most of the time,
It's like there's a vagina. Wait, and it's the perfect vagina. And it's just waiting and it's wet and it's enticing and it's just beckoning you towards it. And like only when you have know who you are enough to get that boner.
Who I am in truth.
Yeah, you know who I am in truth, and you can bone her up and slide right into it. It's like, yes.
It's always there in the room.
It's always there.
Yeah.
But most of the time we're like pretending we're impotent and we're, afraid.
We're empty. Yeah, that's a good metaphor because we have it.
Yeah.
We have it and we don't claim it.
Yeah. The vagina of love and life and happiness is there.
Yeah.
And so, all right. So people, we've talked about some of the ways. Obviously, psychedelics have been a big tool, and then understanding, awareness. Like all of these things. A lot of the stuff we talked about in the Game of Life, like a lot of that is clearing different areas of awareness, knowing your shadow, knowing all of these forces, all of the ways that the clouds form, and all of the densities of the clouds. That is actually very helpful, and like I think I can't personally ignore the clouds and just be like, nope, no clouds, straight to the sun for me. I have to get my mind straight too.
I don't think anyone who is honestly self-aware can ignore the clouds. Like the positive vibe only mantra does not work for human nature. We have clouds. And I think the way beyond is through, not around or denying that it's there.
Yeah.
And I think like to meditate, really what I'm finding is like to try to be in radical truth with people you love is one of the most powerful fucking meditations. Really, it's what psychedelics does for most people, for why it's helpful, is it helps put the ego in its place. What I'm finding, especially witnessing y'all, is that truthful relationships with people you love, if they're committed to being in truth and you are too, puts your ego in its place just as radically as 5 grams of mushrooms will.
Oh, absolutely. The most challenging and most rewarding ceremony I've had is open relationship with Whitney.
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt. You see me, I come in every day and I'm pretty open sharing these things.
Yeah.
And even yesterday, there's like, man, lessons. And once you start to know that you don't have to hide, you have no shame.
Right.
Like you don't have to hide the things that you're feeling and you can just observe them and be the witness. Like, all right, so let's talk about yesterday, what came up, right? So Whitney's, her new love, a guy she genuinely loves, is coming into town and I'm not going to see her for 3 days, right? So I've been reconciling that obviously for a while and really truly believing my own thing that I've been espousing the whole time, that love is in abundance and you can love multiple people. And I've expressed that because I love Savannah and I love Whitney and I've loved other lovers. And I know that love is in abundance. And I know that when a parent has a second child, they don't love the first child half as much, but still I've been going through all that 100%. Shit, right?
Mud boy don't give a fuck what my boy is saying.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. But anyways, we've been reconciling that. And then, I realized that Whitney and her current new lover are taking all my friends to a concert. And they're all going to go out to this concert tonight. And I'm not going to go. And I'm going to be like sitting around. I mean, I'll do something tonight. I'm sure I'll fucking find something fun or do nothing or read or whatever. Doesn't matter. But there was this fear that came up like, oh man, what if he just comes in and replaces me entirely?
Which is such an irrational fear,
right?
Yeah, but I totally hear you.
But it's like, well, here, maybe he just takes over for me in total. And then I was like, that's a really funny fear. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but you just observe it and you witness it. And it's like, oh, wow, I guess there's a little bit of faith that I need to apply, that I am uniquely irreplaceable just as who I am, not because of what I do. And I think that's the other part that started to unravel is you get so identified with your function.
Yeah.
Right. So he's coming in, he came up with an idea to go to a concert. I'm kind of like the social coordinator, right?
Yeah.
Like the kind of like, I'm going to lead us into both debauchery and spiritual realization. And that's kind of my role. Well, he's coming in
to this.
And doing that and sleeping with my fiance. And I'm like, did I just get fucking replaced?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then realize like, oh no, I can't be replaced because I'm not a function. I'm not just the guy who organizes things. Right. I'm not just the guy that plans stuff or the guy that sleeps with Whitney or the guy that does this. I'm uniquely me. And especially when I'm out of the clouds, because if you reduce, like we're not our function. We are who we are. And that's what makes us irreplaceable. And that's also the same thing that gets you through worrying about like, well, is the sex going to be better with that guy? Well, it can't be better. It can be different. It can have a different function. It can touch different cells maybe. But if I'm uniquely being me in intercourse with my lover, that thing is irreplaceable.
100%.
Intercourse itself, whether it's through friendship or laughter or whatever, is an irreplaceable thing. And so you can't get replaced.
Yeah.
It's not, someone can choose something different.
Right.
But it's not like a one for one. But when we reduce ourselves to functions like we do, and look, that's what like jobs do, right? Jobs are like, this is your title.
Yeah.
I can replace
this
your
is what
function.
Makes you worthy.
Yeah. I can replace your function in this job. You're fired.
Yeah.
But we're not that, not as people. You can never actually replace a person. You can replace their function as provider, as blah, 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 as blah, 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 as lover, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But not ever the person. And that's what, man, that was like, I learned that last night. And I knew that, right? But really understanding like, oh man, I can't be replaced. They can choose something else. People could choose not to hang with me. Okay. But me being me as my son, all right, that's unique.
Exactly.
And that's fucking freeing.
Yeah.
And I feel free today, freer in some regards than I ever have.
Yeah. Each day, any day that you can claim that sentence, like you're on the right path.
No doubt. And it redeems all of the struggle.
Right.
And all of the challenge of it.
And the thing that I witness that seems to be making itself more apparent to me is that the ego is an evolved function. Like it exists in the mind because it served a purpose. And it seems to be that before we had self-aware consciousness, we as a monkey had to function in a tribe. And we had things that we had to fill to be worthy of not being exiled and dying. Mm. And so I feel like what I witness, especially amongst like the level of people here, is that the ego function is never going away. Like I haven't met anyone in real life that has no ego. I've heard stories of these people, but I've not met these people.
I don't know if that's real.
Right. And that's my hunch, is that there is no person who didn't have an ego. I think that there are people who tell stories about their mentors in a way where they don't have egos, but I think that that's not being honest.
I think it depends on the definition of the ego. I think they're talking about the shadow of the ego.
Yeah. And so I do think that there is a light function of the ego, but the ego as a thing is like, it's this evolved function that our meat suit developed to try to fit inside of a tribe and be of value, not be exiled and killed. And like, what he is doing is challenging the meat suit of the chief role. Like, and that's a piece of the ego that, like, if the ego evolved to serve any function, it was to ascend to the level of chiefdom.
For me, like I've always known, like, all right, what do you want? Well,
for sure.
It was like, I was looking up to conquerors like Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan. And like, but I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense because these guys were assholes and they were killing people. Well, I mean, Alexander the Great was arguably not an asshole, but I think you could probably say that Genghis was kind of an asshole. I don't know, but whatever. It's all judgment. They were doing what they were doing at their time. But nonetheless, I was like, okay, well then and politics has always been kind of gross to me. So I was always like, okay, well, I need to stand up for ideas, like philosophy was always where I was going. And I always knew that. And I always had that natural. I was the captain of my sports team and the leadership role was a mantle. And then, so then this guy coming in and being the leader and then leading my people, I'm like, oh shit, am I going to get replaced as the chief? And that was the role that the ego played, and I think is just part of the natural development and evolution of being a tribal organism that is assessing these things. And it uses fear, which is one of our strongest motivators,
100%,
to keep us from these dangerous scenarios, which exile from tribe could have and often meant death. And getting replaced as the 100% chief. Like, what happens to the second chief?
Death.
Does the new chief like leave him around? They'll just like hang out?
Slaughter.
No. Yeah. It's like you get replaced. It's the Dothraki way. Like, you challenge the Dothraki overlord,
you dead.
It's like one of you dies,
right?
And that's the tribal archetype of that thing. But that in the new tribe that we're imagining, that's not actually the case. It's more like creating the Camelot Round Table, where King Arthur may still be King Arthur, but everybody's sitting on the round table. Anybody can take the lead. And so it's blessing, like, oh, cool. Another leader's coming in and taking over the weekend, giving me the radical freedom to take off my fucking chief's headdress. And I can do whatever the hell I want. I could sit at home and read Paul Selig's new book, or I could go to the strip club and get buck wild by myself. I don't know. I could do whatever I want. Like, I'm free to like remove that and then blessing that and enjoying everybody else's enjoyment, including Whitney's, including his, and knowing that it's going to be okay. And then, and that's when I'm remembering who I am. And then that's when I'm free. And that's when I can be happy for that.
And the realization for me recently has been like, I don't think the ego is the enemy. I think that we've polarized the ego and we've only looked at the shadow side because it's ruled for so long in our culture, like in the 80s and 90s. And now there's been this drastic overreaction to the ego. But really, to me, it seems like the ego is this really adaptive program that was meant for like a Macintosh in 08 or like, like it's an old program that's still in us that it's trying to help. It thinks we're in a tribe that if we don't fit a certain function, we die. So it uses all of the emotions in our body to try to make us fit what was adaptive inside of a tree tribe 100,000 years ago or 200,000 years ago. And understanding its nature with the consciousness to try to steer it, as opposed to just fucking condemning it or thinking that if you've beat it once, it doesn't come back. Like, it's like if you have a meat suit, it's trying to run the program of the ego, but you have consciousness and you can constantly, there's a pun in there, but I won't do it for the listeners, that you can reprogram it. But it's like the reprogramming isn't a stable reprogramming. It's basically you've taken the commitment of, I'm going to constantly have to mold this groove.
Teach the ego.
That hundreds of thousands of years made it curve right. I'm going to, in a lifetime, try to just bend it just enough, and then maybe my children and their children and their children can continue to bend it.
And one of the things that I think helped that in the past were these rituals where you actually consciously transcend the ego. Like,
absolutely,
why do people put their hand in a glove of woven bullet ant stingers? Right? Like, the ego does not want to fucking do that. It wants everything not to, but that's a legitimate, real tribal rite of passage. You can look it up, and it's one of the most painful rituals that I can recall going through. But there's lots of these things, and what it is, it's like training you. The tribe wants to know that you're willing to endure pain, so that you can transcend your ego, so you won't act selfishly when you need to act collectively.
Yeah.
And so people had ways to practice that and coach their own ego to orient themselves towards the greater good. Like, how did the 300 Spartans, say goodbye to their loved ones and their wives, decide that they were going to stand at the fucking hot gates and they were going to stay there until every single one of them fell?
Yeah.
It's such a crazy thing. But you do that because you know that your love for the people is greater than this self-preservation instinct.
Yeah.
And so that the heroic archetype, the warrior archetype, all of these are ways that you can reteach and transcend. And I think we're inspired by that because we're inspired by, the release of that selfish need and priority of the ego to this more collective need and being willing to give up on what this personal directive is. And those were the people who were always the best leaders, who were always the most loved.
They became legends. Yeah.
They became the legends.
And I think it's because we all know the allure and the drive to want to give in to our animal nature. And when we see someone who doesn't do it and who doesn't do it in such a way that, like, most of us know we wouldn't even have the courage to do it, but we wish we were the type of person who would have the courage to do it. Those people become legends. And really what a legend is a story that will hopefully teach egos in the next generation and the next generation. And I think, like, I put myself through my own initiation ritual by doing a bunch of psychedelics and just deconstructing my mind and really thinking about why am I even alive? Like, what will make me worthy of the gifts that I've been born with? And really it's like, I want to live a life. And this is grandiose, but fuck it, this is my truth. Like, I want to live a life that if I die, the story of my life will inspire other people. Like, it's not about this life. It's about all the lifetimes that could be after this one, that this one could serve as a story to. And of course, I want to have orgasms and eat great food and have a great time. But I want to do it in a way where when the last period is set, that it becomes a story that helps other people overcome the ego,
And that is getting back to experiencing who you truly are. Who you truly are is connected to all things.
Yeah.
Who you truly are is one node on Indra's net, one piece of the infinite prism of this diamond of existence, right? Yeah. And so to really know who you are, you have to know the perspective of who you are, which is a part of all source and like, that's what you have to know. So, all right, we don't get to go stand at the hot gates of Thermopylae anymore. Like, that's just not part of our, usually. I mean, there are still some, like, soldiers and special forces who have very important
ours here
mission.
At this table, yeah.
Yeah. But and even collectively, it's rarer in our world. But so we can create these other opportunities, right, that can also be inspiring. Like, my hot gates this weekend is to watch that little voice. It's like, I hope they don't have too much fun tonight anyways. I hope that concert isn't the best time anybody's ever had because, I'm worried and I'm afraid that if they have too much fun, then my value is less and, my ego is going to want to push that. But actually be thrilled for their happiness and be thrilled for their excitement. And if they come back and I reconnect with everybody, later on in the weekend or Monday or next week or whatever, they're like, man, I had such a fucking awesome time. And when I hear that, it's not like, oh no, it's like, oh yeah, amazing. And that's to me, that's my challenge of really recognizing who I am and recognizing that. And if I'm able to achieve that, then that's going to be so alluring too, because people are going to see, wow, the new chief came in, crushed it, everybody had a blast, and Aubrey was fucking stoked for everybody. And I love Aubrey even more now because he was fucking stoked rather than being like a little bitch who was hoping that everything didn't go well, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, or like hoping that when Whitney hooks up with a lover, like, wasn't so good, right? You know, like, no, being like, wow, I'm so happy that was fucking amazing. And like, that is my transcending of Mind Boy and actually actualizing that force of consciousness that's happy for all of my other parts of myself expressed as other human beings and expressed as the collective total.
Yeah. And I think the really practical insight from that way of thinking is that wherever you are in your life right now, when you are hearing these words, you have something to face that's scary.
Yep.
And if you bring to it the type of fucking tenacity the 300 did when they went to war, and you went and you faced the thing, and it might be trivial, and a piece of you is going to want to make it seem trivial so you don't do it because you're fucking afraid.
Yeah.
But if you do it, and you do it over and over and over again, like in 6 months, you will have a brand new fucking life. Because people will not do the thing they know they need to do today because they're afraid. And they'll make up some like, oh, it's not important, or oh, I don't actually want it.
And that's just pulling yourself out of battle, right? Like, oh, it's okay if the Persians come and run Greece. you know, it's like, they'll probably treat our wives fine. You know, like everything will be fine. Yeah. And to me, that would be like being like, I don't really love Whitney that much anyways. And, you know, like,
that's just fucking playing small.
People, that's playing small. And it's retreating. It's actually literally retreating from the battleground that I have available to me, which is like, no, I fucking love her and I love her love, and like not pulling back. And I've pulled back so many times.
For sure.
Like in these 5 years we've been in an open relationship, like most of the time I create safety, you know, and just engage with like maybe a little skirmish here or there with the truth and with my ego. But most of the time I retreat and be like, yeah, you know, whatever's cool. You know, if she loves me, she doesn't love me, you know, I'm not that invested in it. Nah, that's not the fucking courageous way. It's not the hero's way. The hero's way is
authentic.
It's not authentic because it's not real. It's playing games to protect myself to a certain degree. So, and we all have that opportunity, and that could be anything. It could be like singing your song literally. Like, oh, who cares about singing anyways? You know? Or who cares about playing this instrument or writing this thing or making this book or doing this screenplay or being like Stephen Pressfield, who talks about who knew he was a writer, but he's out picking fruit and like distracting himself, you know, with his shadow career because, you know, he was withdrawing from the battle, which was, here, I have medicine to give.
People will spend their entire life, all of their vitality, weaving a story to keep them from doing the thing that they already know they are meant to do here. And they know, like, it's so weird. But if you look at someone in the eye and you say, you know that thing that you should be doing that you're not doing? I have never looked someone in the fucking eye where I couldn't see that they had a thing right away.
Yep.
Like right away. We all know it, you know? And we will just weave a lifetime of bullshit to not face the thing that we know our soul is here to do. And really just comes down to fear. Like we're afraid that we won't be good enough, or we won't be worthy of love, or mom and dad won't approve, or the person that we love that we are trying to win won't think that that's the thing that deserves them to be won, whatever it is. But it's fear. And it's like we erode who we truly are, or we erode the connection with who we truly are each day that we choose to retreat and not to fucking go to the gates.
Yep. And it's based on this identification as the mind boy, which is in constant need of validation.
Feed me.
Yeah, like constantly needing validation. And I had that real strong recognition that that's so much of everything that we call love. Like all the parts that we call love and all these things, a lot of it is just our need for validation from another person. Like I've been the one of the biggest validation addicts that I can now, in hindsight, looking at myself, I've been one of the biggest validation addicts that could ever be, you know, constantly needing validation, particularly from my lovers.
Yeah.
And that was part of this thing that I masqueraded as love, when actually genuine love is setting them completely radically free and allowing them to be in love with however, whomever, whatever actually generates the most love in the world. I'm actually going to try and pull up that poem that I just wrote and released. And some of you might have read it. It'll take me a second, but it's called 5 of a Million Love Poems.
Yeah, and to fill the air while you try to find that, the thing that came up, like what I'm witnessing now, especially being around you guys, I'm like the way that I approach a new subject is I go buy a bunch of books on it. And I'm starting to really pay attention to relationships and love. And like what I'm seeing, especially now that I'm trying to pay attention to it, is most people's relationships are the dysfunction that they inherited from their parents about what made them worthy of love. They have found a partner that reflects that dysfunction. And then they're both dysfunctioning at each other. Like they're dysfunctioning, at each other.
Yeah.
And most people, the moment that they find that the partner stops fitting their dysfunction, they break up and they find a new partner that fits the dysfunction in the same way.
Or they've sucked all the validation they could from that person because there's no end to the validation. It's the person who needs to feel rich and needs to drive a fancy car. They will never be able to buy enough fucking Rolls Royces to fill that hole. Because the validation of it the external validation will never actually constitute a genuine understanding of who you are. The person who's constantly needing the love and affection of their lover will never actually get enough of that from that person, especially if they entrap them with all these rules and things and they're stuck. And then all of a sudden, like, well, I'm not getting any more validation because this person's kind of stuck anyways.
Yeah.
And so
vampiric.
The whole external thing doesn't work. So let me read this poem here. It's called 5 of a Million Love Poems. A million love poems about some girl written by some man, but maybe 5, probably 3 were actually to the girl. The rest were written to himself, the craving to feel worthy, the chase to corrupt chastity, the validation of virility, the challenge of changing status, the imperative to procreate. But to love the woman beyond the self, you have to see the woman beyond what she makes you feel about yourself. To see her sovereign, beyond possession, a wild woman, untamed, unchained, unclaimed, an alpha wolf, who sometimes might choose to moan in your bed or stroke the hair on your head. Real love is man's greatest challenge. Take the journey if you dare. Cast away your shiny lures. Leave the charming spells unspoken. Just hold. Hold. The real you. The whole truth. Steady. Stable. Faithful. But not the way the stories say. More like Shiva as he lay, a smile spread across his face, because he knows, without a doubt, that no matter where the woman lay, his soul nests inside her.
We should just stop there. You know what I'm...
And I do think a thing that I want to highlight that poem really connects to me is something that you wrote about in the newsletter. But the thing that is the true essence of man, the thing that he is faithful to, is love itself, which is what God is to the Bible. I've never heard it explained like this, and it really sparked something that's probably going to end up changing the way that I date people for the rest of my life. I'm sorry for anyone listening who's committed to me being monogamous, but that the idea of agreements about what makes love conditional is like a fundamentalist interpretation of the Bible. Mm-hmm. And the idea that the Bible is trying to point at is something beyond the Bible, beyond all the rules, all the letters, all the sentences. It's God. And the thing that the true man is faithful to is love itself, the idea, not the words, not the agreements, not the conditions. And I just want to thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, brother. I mean, that was a big revelation and a metaphor that really made sense, because in fundamentalism, they're worshiping the words of a book.
They get it just as wrong as the atheists.
Right. They're worshiping the words of a book when God is there the whole time being like, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. You want to look around?
Yeah, it's
I'm in
like-
the trees. I'm in the fucking
Exactly.
butterflies. I'm in the wind. I'm in your lover.
Yeah.
I'm here if you want to worship me. Or you can go back to the book. And the same thing in relationship. You can go back to the agreements and the expectations and whatever rules that you might have that define what makes this thing work or what makes this thing worthy, what makes this thing love, and this proof of love courtroom drama that we're always in, which is really trying to find proof of not love and then bringing that evidence to bear and then allowing the judge to judge whether it is or it isn't. Or you just go to love itself and just feel it and recognize that it's there. And then it's stable. And that is what, you would call the divine masculine. That is Shiva, that image of Shiva laying on his back with a big smile on his face as Shakti, the expression of creation itself, the wild woman with the hair and the tongue sticking out and the heads of severed men, women, and all the chaos of life is just dancing on his chest and looking like at deep peace, at love with creation. Like when I was in ayahuasca and I was speaking with the divine archetypes of creation and spirit, and spirit came to me and said, let me tell you the greatest love story ever told. And then just showed me spirit and earth and manifest and atoms and actual physicality and like how that is the love story. It's spirit and creation in love, always.
And that is each of us. Like if we want to take this a step back, like our true essence is intermingling with our body essence, which is spirit and matter.
Yep.
And this is our experience. Like the reason we get the game of life, the reason we get to do the hero's journey is to experience all of this. Like we are the greatest love story.
Yep.
And then we get to love inside of the love story.
Yep.
And it's like the greatest love fractal story ever told.
And that vagina is always there.
Everywhere.
Always there.
The penis and the vagina are everywhere at all times.
At all times.
And it's us and them.
Yeah. Well, that's just one of the things to achieve before you die. All right, let's go through the rest of the 4 here.
We're going to have to do it at twice the speed.
Well, as expressed, number 1, I think is pretty much 90% of the game. But
yeah.
All right, number 2. Overcome your fear of death, because this is one of those things that we all have to grapple with. This is like the master fear, and it's an inevitability.
Yeah.
And there's some people who are trying to like cheat the game, like Kurzweil, and like fucking escape the inevitability of death. But they're forgetting the truth about death, which is that it's already an illusion, that it's just the passing from this life to another experience. And that thing is something that like you can psychologically grasp, but until you experience yourself as the force that could transcend this meat suit, this mind boy, but as something that transcends that. And I think, as they say, like that which strikes the shell of the oyster does not strike the pearl, right? Like, all right, the meat suit could be taken away at any point. Someone could drive by Onnit windows right now and meat suits could be obliterated here for us.
We will not put out that.
But there's a part of us that will not go where the meat suit goes, which is an evaporation back to all things.
And this actually brings up a lot of shit for me that I went through when I did Vilca in Peru. And basically, the day before I left to Peru, I kind of had this aha realization. I don't even know where it came from, but I was at dinner with some friends and I was thinking about my greatest spiritual trauma. I was like 7 and I had been introduced to the idea of heaven by people who didn't really understand it, but they told me like, when you die, if you do everything right, you go to a place where you will live forever. You will always be in love. And I remember going to bed that night, really trying to think about what it meant to live forever, for it to be eternal. And I just started crying, like, because the idea of eternity scared me so much that it felt like I almost broke my brain. And then I would pray to the God that was promising me this outcome to help me not think about it so I could fall asleep. And I did this every night for almost a month. And then I just stopped doing it, like it vanished. I realized that my insane atheism in high school, where I thought I was being a crusader of truth, was really me rebelling against the possibility of there being any type of metaphysical truth that would mean that any part of me would be eternal. And a part of me, knowing I would experience Vilka, it's like my brain was like, this is what you're going to face, dummy.
So Vilka, for those who don't know, it's translated as the sacred, and it's a combination of NN-DMT, 5-MeO-DMT, and bufotenine. And it creates one of the most, I would say the most powerful natural plant psychedelic experience that's available.
Yeah.
And it's snuffed up through the nose. We did it with Don Howard down in Peru, and it's part of the sacred ancient Chavin tradition. And that is, to me, DMT more than any of the other pantheon of psychedelics actually gives you a taste of that eternal part of yourself, especially the 5-MeO-DMT. Like that actually allows you to go like, whoa, here I am in unicity, and God damn, it feels good. It feels like every ecstatic cry, orgasm, smile, laugh, pain, everything all condensed into one. And holy shit, does that feel good? But man, is it a lot to hold.
Yeah. Mine did not feel good. And the way that Don Howard explained it is that this was a technology that the shamans used to teach the shamans how to die. Mm-hmm. Like this was a technique or a technology used to help people learn how to die. And my experience, it's ineffable. So you can try to put a story around it, but basically it felt like I was in eternity, but there was no I, there was no ego. And it felt like my ego was like 100 miles behind me to the right on the floor, screaming and crying, like just completely unable to comprehend what was being experienced. But then it felt like there was some part of me that I can't explain, but was facing the experience and was just whispering love, love, love. And
like Hamilton Morris in his 5-MeO-DMT episode where he does 5-MeO-DMT and he's really actually embarrassed about it because he's just lying on the banks of the river after doing 5-MeO going love, 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 love.
And I feel like I have a dichotomy in my mind where there's Plato and there's Aristotle. And Plato is the mystic and Aristotle is the scientist. And the scientist is like, no, you die. But Plato, especially after Vilka, is like, there is a thing that you don't understand with language that seems to be something that even in the face of oblivion is invincible. And it's all a hypothesis. I'll find out when I die. But I now have an experience that I never had before that I feel like it's the ultimate preparation for that death moment.
It's a knowledge of that place. Like, empirically we can't prove it. Like I get that. And I think there's things that are going to be beyond what we can empirically prove through science. But then there's a knowing. So if like people ask, like, do you know what happens when you die? Yeah. Like I'll look them in the eye and be like, yeah. But don't believe me. Like I'm not saying like I know and you should take my word for it. You know what I'm saying? Like go see if you can find that place yourself if you like. And it can come many different ways. It can come as Satori. It can come through this spontaneous, recognition that can be facilitated in many different ways. And you hear about stories of these things happening through multiple different disciplines. It just seems that psychedelics are a more reliable and predictable way that the people who are ready at the right time, in the right setting, with the right medicine, the right place, when you're called to it, all those caveats, like can give you this experience where you have a perspective on death that actually can help you eliminate the fear. And so that death becomes something where it's like, oh yeah, that would be a shame because I love physical love. I love everything that you described earlier, orgasming, tasting food and drinking coffee and laughing with friends. But there's something else beyond this physical experience that will exist. And quite likely, obviously we don't have this purview, but it certainly makes a lot of sense to me that we get another chance, when we choose, or I don't know exactly how the mechanism works.
For sure.
But there's other chances at physical experience and physical love. And that as this idea of reincarnation. But I don't buy into, personally, I don't buy into this idea that it's just like this wheel where you just go back out and then you're just thrust back in. I think there's a lot more will. There's a lot more choice into that kind of experience. And there's a lot more like, okay, I'm choosing to go back into the fray. I'm choosing to go back and engage with polarity. And it's going to be rough. It's going to be a hell of a ride. It's going to have its ups and downs, but there's more to learn in this playground of life that I can bring with me to the never-ending thing. You know, like as the guides from Paul Selig said, the guides, which are these discarnate entities, if you believe that, and you believe that what's coming through Paul Selig isn't Paul Selig, and there is actually this force, if you believe that, the guides say, you know, there may be an end, but we haven't found it yet.
Damn.
So even the guides are like, this thing keeps going, you know?
Yeah.
And when they talk about what they do miss the physical love, the rain on their skin and the engaging with other people, but they're also in this, you know, discarnate state of bliss, and also, you know, maintaining some self-awareness. Because I also thought, for a long time, I thought like you died and then you just kind of, you had a cup of water and that was you, and then you just poured it into the ocean. There was just ocean. So you were just part of like life. And I think that's almost like I do believe that can exist where you just merge completely back with the oneness. And I think that coincides with that point at the Big Bang where like everything gets drawn back into the unicity, where all things, like God is one thing, homogenized, no longer differentiated, just a force of energy, maybe the size of a thumbnail, and God is just that thing. And there aren't the differentiation of personalities and wills and choices and the fractals. It is just the densest form of light and love and life and everything all compressed. And that is a death of your distinction as a piece of that. But that is kind of the second death. And that's also not to be feared, you know, because, you know, 5-MeO gives you a little taste of that, I feel like, too. Whereas like regular DMT gives you a taste of like death 1, and then 5-MeO can give you a taste of death 2.
There's levels to death, too.
There's levels to
life
death.
and death.
Yeah. But it's all just a release into something greater. It's a release into the biggest part of what we are.
And I think like if you're listening and you're an atheist and this isn't making any sense to you, I think a completely practical way to approach this is you will die. And how you die affects everyone who loves you who is still alive. And taking a psychedelic can help you at least prepare to have grace in that moment. Because the way you die is going to be a wound on all the people that you love. Like if you die with no grace and you're fucking bitter and resentful and not connecting to the people, scared, fear, you will leave a wound on your children, on your lovers, on your friends. And the thing about psychedelics, and there are other ways to do this, but for me, nothing has come close. And if I try to give a caveat, I'm just not being honest, is that I think who I am now will die with a grace, God willing, or whatever, you know, that the dude I was when I was 20 would not have. And I think if you want to try to make that experience as healing, because dying with grace could potentially be the most healing thing that happens to some of your closest relationships, because you can, it's so weird, but like a person's life gets its meaning from the last period. And like how you go out and like what you say to your son or your father, if he's still alive, or your wife or your daughter or whatever it is, could set them up in a way that helps them reach their greatest potential.
Well, it can, and also teach them not to fear death.
Yeah.
Like fear is something that's taught as well as something that's just felt,
Contagion,
right?
yeah.
Like, so like if you teach them, no, you don't need to fear this, and you don't need to fear my death. Like I remember thinking about, you know, Don Howard is sick now, and he's potentially doesn't have too much longer in this physical dimension. And he's been like a grandfather and a mentor to me for many years. And I was riding on the boat with him out there, and I was thinking like, oh man, like he's going to be gone someday soon. And then I connected to him. I was on Huachuma and I connected to him psychically, and he just laughed in my consciousness. And he goes, "Where do you think I'm going, brother? Where do you think I'm going?" And like that was like, oh yeah, I know better.
Yeah.
I know better. I know where you're going. You're always going to be there available, just like my grandmother was, just like, and I tell it in this guide in 5 Things to Achieve Before You Die. I tell this story again of my grandmother who deceased, the one who's tattooed on my arm, how many times she's come to me in those moments where I needed her and when she's been available, and many, many times, not only under psychedelics, but in dreams, in psychedelics, in visions, in meditations. Like, that's going to be there. And I know that with my mom too, and my mom will always be with all these people that are special to me, will always be with me, and I will be there too. So it just diminishes this this massive fear that by giving yourself perspective. And there's a ton of other ways that we could get into this. Where obviously we can talk about each one of these things a lot. And the other thing is, like, the other thing I want to mention is you can use death as like a way to appreciate life a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, there's a scene from Troy, and I know I've told this before, but it's when Achilles, who is immortal, except for, of course, his Achilles heel, he expresses that the gods are envious of the mortals because the mortals die, and because everything is so much more special, because they don't live forever, because then every bit has this urgency, has this like vitality to it and meaning. And that's the beauty of death, is that you're not stuck. You don't have all the time in the world in this one experience. Like, there's a shot clock on Erick Godsey and a shot clock on Aubrey. You know? So play the fucking game.
Yeah.
Or sit in the corner and worry about when the clock's going to run out, or fucking dribble and shoot and fucking talk shit and smile and laugh and high five your teammates and, play like a hero.
And I think that our soul wants to play. Our soul wants to play the game.
No doubt.
It's why it's fucking here. And just a quick shout out, like, just being around Don Howard was one of the greatest medicines I've ever had in my entire life. To see, because I've never really had a strong grandfather figure, and just to see that dude be, like, it's the ultimate test. It's the ultimate testament that what you do isn't important to how you do, how you're being, and just witnessing him. Was fucking medicine. So thank you.
Yeah. And, he has a lot of logistics and a lot of legacy that he's taken care of, but he's done, he has no fear of death.
Yeah.
So talking to him, and when I've talked to him at length about the end of his life, and like, he knows where he's going. He's actually like been to the place. He knows where he's going, and he's not afraid of it. And he's just trying to, with as much grace as he can, create the organizations that'll be para el bien de todos, for the good of all. And he's been able to orient himself to that through his life of service, which is fucking awesome and beautiful to see.
I get this image, and it's almost like as your life comes to an end, the gravitational power that emits from how you be grows in intensity. And it's almost like when you're at the end of your life, each moment, especially all the people there who understand it's the end of your life, it's like each moment that you do, it has a stronger psychological gravitational power to it. And like, his is just, it changes the whole vibe of the fucking jungle around him.
And it's great to meet people like that, because then it recalibrates this kind of fear-based paradigm. All right, let's get through these. Let's get through these other ones. Number 3, love something more than your life. And we've talked about this already. We've talked about this. This is when you know who you are. It's the surrender of the ego is basically what I'm talking about. Like the willingness to go to the hot gates, like loving the 300 Spartans love Sparta and their wives and their children and their more than their life, because they knew they weren't coming back.
And there's this great fucking book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And they talk about the difference between the hero and the warrior. And that the hero is actually the infantile version in their way of seeing it. It's the infantile version of the archetype of the warrior. And the hero is more in love with his own legend, his own power than the tribe. The warrior is actually the mature version of the hero, because the warrior serves something greater than itself. So like the hero might do something in battle for glory that might jeopardize the whole fucking tribe.
Yeah, for more feathers in his war bonnet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the warrior will grab the hero's fucking cape, yank him down, and explain to him, no, wait, this is what we do. This is what's best for the wife and children behind us. And I think for people who want to try to live who want to be fit for service, you can only be fit by kneeling to something greater than yourself. You cannot be fit if you're the thing that you're doing it for.
Yep. That's absolutely true. It's the transcension of the ego, which actually gives you such great peace, and it is the dedication to service to something. And I think we all of us have felt, parents all feel that for their kids,
It's apparent.
Sorry guys. and in the great love stories and in the great stories of patriotism and for the people, and that's built in. And I think to really have lived, we have to know that there are things that we would be willing to die for. And
it calibrates the ego.
It really calibrates it. And those are, again, the legends, those true stories, as Jordan Peterson would say. Like, why do people love fucking Braveheart so much? Because he's getting fucking his guts carved out on the torturer's table, and his last words were freedom. An idea that was more important than his pain, more important than his life, more important than that little romantic episode he got to have with the princess. And he didn't even want to take the painkiller because he didn't want to go out with his wits numbed. He wanted to yell freedom. And of course, this is a story, right? I understand that there's a real William Wallace, and I don't know how he actually died, but the story resonated because it taught us that thing. It taught us that, to be willing to give your life for that thing which is greater, which was freedom for his people, and freedom for the self and expression and the soul and your love, and the removal of prima nocte and all of that shit that had been imposed by the structures of society. That is for everyone a part of it. And mothers feel that for their kids, and we all feel that we do that for our friends and the world. And when we're there, man, it's fucking blissful. It's like it's rich and alive and feels true, and it feels like then we're remembering who we are, and then we're not afraid of death, and all these things are kind of like
it
stacking.
all clicks.
All these things are stacking on each other. All right, number 4, know the world. And this, again, the word know, to me, I'm going back to the Greek word gnosis, which is that intercourse, which we described.
Absolutely.
Right? Another reason why we're here is to fucking do the things. Try the different foods.
Yeah.
Have the sex you want to have consensually. Please, everybody.
2018.
Yes. But experience the things.
Yeah.
Play, have fun, go travel, do the scuba dive, skydive, do the things that you can only do here. Feel what it feels like in the cold, in the heat, in the rain, in the snow, and with the self that we have, play ball, get in a sparring match, roll on the jujitsu mat, do the things.
Yeah. And also know the shadow.
Yeah.
No depression, no anxiety, no fear. Because the more you know that feeds directly into number 5, which is to share your medicine. And it's what I'm seeing more and more here. And just as I'm getting to know people more deeply, it's almost like the deeper I get to know myself, that then opens up my capability of knowing others at that level. And it's like, what I'm finding is that the thing that caused people trauma, that them dealing with their trauma is what makes their medicine, and it's like, you are going to incur wounds, but those wounds, if you work with them, that is where your medicine is at. And that's what all the myths show, is the thing that sends you on the journey is not ever life is so good, I want to go on a journey and fight a dragon. It's shit has gotten so bad, that I have to go face this thing. And I think that directly feeds into number 5. And I think that the reason we're here is to share our medicine.
I think it's a great, just to go back to the point you're making, you're right. Don't just know the positive side of things. Obviously there could be a world where we would, you could imagine this, virtual reality where all things are just pleasant and positive, and it's this kind of matrix, take the yellow pill, and it's all just, well, that's not what we're here for. We're here for the polarity. We're here to be the child with his hand out the window, feeling the ups and downs of the wind, and to bless those feelings, because the truth of the matter is, like, those things are beautiful too. Like, even in the depths of like some of my hardest struggles, you know, in open relationship where I felt like totally eviscerated.
Yeah.
There was like a beauty to the depth of that pain, like a poetic beauty to it.
Absolutely.
That was priceless.
And your poems are a testament to that. Like, some of the most fire you've ever written
was in those periods. Yeah. I mean, you got to witness me in those. This is all in the past year, right? And to really recognize, and then, all right, let me think of the worst times. Okay, worst times. One time I smoked DMT and I went to this place I call the void. And in the void, there was nothing. There was no color. There was no light. There was no sense of being. There was no sense of being alive. Everything was numb, dull, light brown. That was it. There wasn't a rock. There wasn't a demon. There wasn't anything to fight. And I've had some dark journeys where there's devils and hell and all kinds of like gnarly shit.
There's always a thing to do.
But I was fucking way preferable to nothing. And it's the same with, you know, after I got in this car accident, I got prescribed a lot of pain pills and I needed the pain pills. Well, I took some, you know, after I was out of pain, I was like, oh, I'm still in a little pain. And I took like a little bigger dose, and this was the opiate version. I took a little bigger dose and I got really numb, like more numb than I needed to get for the pain. But it wasn't just numb from the pain. It was like numb from life.
Yeah.
And that was one of the worst feelings I've had. And I've had a hard year. But the pain itself, like even feeling my face hurt, was preferable to this universal numbness where I couldn't even generate an emotion that was good or bad.
Yeah.
It was just neutrality. And like that numbness is, I think, really the worst thing. And you can bless that too, because it's going to shift. You're not going to stay there, but blessing all of the struggles as well as all of the good things, knowing all of the love and the loss and the longing and the gnawing, and, you know, and then transmuting that and alchemizing that again, like you said, no matter what it was, into medicine, which to me was some poems or was some podcasts or even writing this, you know, like a lot of the wisdom from this has come from really dark, painful times. Yeah. But then like looking back, man, those were some fucking powerful experiences that I'm grateful to have had.
The opposite of love and life is not pain or hate. It's apathy, it's numbness, it's meaningless.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And sometimes that feels like, oh man, that'll be a nice escape. And maybe temporarily as a little kind of crutch, you can
it's like a timeout, just like coach.
Yeah, I need a fucking time. I need a time. But then when you don't need that timeout and you go back to it, which is really the choice that I made. Yeah. I was like, I don't really need a full timeout, but I could use a timeout, you know? So it was just like, man, this really reminds me that everything that I was going through, both the physical pain and the emotional pain, far preferable to the numbness, because there's nothing to share from the numbness. There's no medicine that I can give other than the medicine of knowing that the numbness is the enemy, which in some way redeems the experience of the numbness. But
it's almost like you can't alchemize a vacuum. Like
exactly.
There has to be some material there.
Mm-hmm. Some force, you know, that you can use to drive you, some resistance that you can turn to assistance or turn into medicine and share.
And I think that is like probably the most meaningful piece of alchemy that I can give people is whatever your trauma is. If you have the courage to admit it to yourself and then to share it in whatever artistic way your soul calls for you to share it, you will save at least one person's life. Mm-hmm. Like there are so many people who go through trauma who think it's only them, who will never share it, and who feel shame and hatred and self-loathing and depression. But if they see one person share it, like the greatest writers, the greatest poets are the ones who said the most vulnerable shit. You know, it's not the ones who write about how good the shit is. It's the ones that you go to read and you're like, I cannot believe they're writing this. Mm-hmm. I cannot believe that they're saying this. But you can turn any trauma into medicine if you're willing to share it as art.
That's it. Share your medicine, share your song, sing your song. And your song is always available no matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, no matter what you've gone through. Your song is still there. And that's probably the most beautiful thing the guides say from the Book of Freedom is, we sing your song for you until you remember the words.
And that's how you love somebody too.
And that's how you love somebody. You just sing their song. So this weekend, as Whitney's off with her other lover that she loves and having a blast, like,
sing her song.
I sing Whitney's song, and I sing it with a fucking smile. It doesn't have to be a ballad and a song of pain and longing like a country song that's all sad and shit. It can be, the true song, the hero's song of her life, and a life filled with love and joy and happiness and all the things, and sing each other's songs, sing our song, and that in itself is the medicine. Whatever your expression is, and it's, I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve, and how you serve is your expression, is your song.
Absolutely.
And then you're doing that, then you're sharing your medicine. It doesn't matter how big that song goes out to, how many people are listening. It could be just you, just you by yourself singing your song, in your shower.
Because it's not just you and you. It's Mud Boy, Mind Boy, the true self. And all of the people you've ever loved are in you too. Your mom, your dad, your grandma, Don Howard, they're in you too. So when you live the life that you know that you're meant to live, even if you do it alone, you're not alone, because all those people are inside you too, and they are witnessing you right now.
We're all a piece of that collective. Again, it goes back to that recognition of the universality, the commonality that we all share. So there is no such thing. So your medicine can be served when no one is there.
There's
watching.
always an audience.
Yeah,
there's always a crowd.
Always an audience when no one is watching, or when people are watching, both at the same time. Well, shit, man. That's it. 5 things to achieve before you die. Any other final words as we wrap this thing up?
Nope.
Beautiful. Anybody who wants this, we'll put this up at aubreymarcus.com before you die. That sounds good to me. Done. Erick Godsey, you spell it with a Z on Instagram.
I haven't changed it.
It's confusing. But everybody, check him out. I appreciate you as always, my brother.
Likewise, man. I cannot say it enough.
Yeah. Thank you, my man. And thank you, everybody. Much love. Peace.